Okay, we're getting ready to start again. It's Wednesday night. Just remind you, next Tuesday you're going to have lab. You'll have lab. I need you to bring a box, like a shoebox would be strong enough that you're going to hook a joystick, a big red joystick on it, and some buttons. You're going to cut those into there, and after you figure out how to wire it, you're going to end up wiring it into the box, and you'll be able to control, using a joystick, your Raspberry Pi. All right. Any questions there? I got another. Maybe it's another one. Yeah, I believe it. Isn't it Tuesday, folks? It's next week. Correct me if it's if it's not that. I know it's next week. Correct me if I've got the wrong day. Well, let's at least agree for right now. It is next week. I believe it's Tuesday, but we usually you have your labs on Tuesdays. That's why I'm saying Tuesday. Okay. Now, any other questions about that? All right. And it's good that you're coming to this because you're going to definitely understand this better than the folks that have not been coming recently. We've got to get people back coming. All right. We started doing this if statements, right? And Keisha and I stayed on a while to work on that. So he stayed and really worked on most of you. If the conditions is true in an if statement, if 4 is 4 equal to 2 plus 2, if that's true, it'll say hi. 2 plus 2 is 5, is not 5, so it'll never say yes, you. All right, so that condition's false. It'll never happen. All right, this assigns, right here, this assigns 14 to that variable age. It's not saying it's equal to, it's an assignment. When you do equal equal, now it's a check to see if it's true. See, you don't always do it. You do this a lot in programming. You do this less often. So checking to see if something's true, and so that's why they do equal equal that way. All right. So, how would you get? What would you do to change the condition so the hero says, "Come and get me, come at me"? Well, in 9, you don't have to do anything because it's good. 3 plus 3 is the equivalent of 6. But if you wanted to and you would, under thumb biter, if you wanted to lure the critter, you would correct it to change it. So we've spent a bunch of time going through this, setting all the times when it's true or not true to avoid doing something we don't want it to do. All right? So, find nearest enemy is the new one we're using. Now that says this. It should say self-attack enemy self. Bar enemy find the nearest enemy, attack, attack. Somehow we ended up with a bit of JavaScript. There we go. In Patrol Buster, you're going to do this. This is where the if statement starts to help you. Find the nearest enemy. If there's an enemy, there'll be a value there. It'll be true. If there is no enemy, the value is null, or in this case, of false, and you won't attack anything. So it's a way of doing this. Because if you don't put that if statement in there, it could look for the enemy, doesn't find it. It goes immediately down to if attack enemy, or attack enemy, there's nothing to find, then the enemy can come in there and get you. So this is waiting till it finds the enemy before you start attacking it. You'll get an error message because the enemy will be null. That's what I really should have said. If there's no enemy there, and you say if you say self-attack enemy, say there was no if enemy statement. You had self-attack enemy, but there was no enemy, you'll get an error message. This says wait until there is an enemy, then attack it. All right? And in this case, Endangered Burl, you're only going to attack certain critters that are enemies. So look at this one. If the enemy type, that's a new little bit command, what kind of type it is. If it's a burl, quotation, quotation, semicolon, say I'm not attacking that burl. If the enemy type is a munchkin, self-attack the enemy, so you're going to attack a munchkin. If it's a thrower, you're going to attack it. If it's an ogre, you're going to run away from it. So why don't we do those first few ones after if-else statements, okay? And then you can also be putting loops, and you put the loop in here at the top of this, so that way it keeps checking through as it finds each enemy. We want to continuously check for enemies. And remember, check for your code carefully. So let's go to that. If the enemy is Burl, what's it missing? What should come after quotation after thrower? You need a semicolon. This one's got a colon, so you need to make that a semicolon. And in this case, it didn't have anything. And one thing about errors, it may say line 16 is the problem when actually it's the line before it. It's not always clear. Okay, let's go ahead and get through these next ones right here. Go all the way until you get to Thornbush Farm. Raise your hand when you've done that. Which level is level 8? You're going to have to give me more than just level, and I'm just not going to go back and tell you. All right. Whoops, let me go back down there. How many people have gone I want to help everybody, but I want you to go ahead and try it. We just started, so I don't know how I need to help. Which one are you on right now? Which one's back to back? Let me look back here. Okay, it's the same thing. Right here, back to back. If the enemies, I need a more question than simply, we're not at level 8 yet, so let's hang on 1 second. Let's get everybody Thornbush Farm. That was before it. Have you done Thornbush Farm? Keyshawn, have you done Thornbush Farm? Did you do the Burl one? Where are you? Which one did you do before that? It won't let me what? Here, let me ask you, buddy. Let's find out. What won't it let you do, buddy? I've unmuted you. Keyshawn?
It won't actually, it says that if I click the level that, it says that I need to subscribe it.
All right, go to the next level. You're just on the wrong level. Go to the next one. Okay? They have in there some subscribe levels and ones that aren't. Do the ones that are not subscription. Okay?
Okay.
All right, there you go. Okay, I need Cooper. If you give me a question there, I can get it. It'd be great. Okay, let me try Cooper. Give him his shot here so I can help him out. Yes, Cooper.
I'm just ahead.
Okay. What was your question about, my friend?
On the level that I'm on, the code isn't working for it.
Okay, make sure you check the syntax. And sometimes, and make sure, remember, with Python, white spacing matters. Does it tell you what the error message is? Could I hear that?
It doesn't say an error message. The code works, but the code isn't functioning properly.
No, the code's functioning exactly probably the way you're telling it to do it, but it's not doing what you want it to do. Doesn't that make sense? Like it's doing, so you're going to have to try out some different ideas. Those are the harder ones to fix because it's a logic issue. Okay?
Okay.
Sorry. That's just got to work your way through it, but I'll help you if I need to, if you need it. All right. Keyshawn, did you go to the next level and got around that? You should never, again, we're not ever paying for levels on this thing. Okay, guys, how are we coming here? See if we got any questions here. Anybody got a question here I can answer? Ty, do you have a question? Hey, Ty.
No.
All right. Hey, like I say, while you guys are working on that, I'll just tell you. Oh, okay, Ty. Ty, put your hand back up again. Yeah. Ty, do you got a question?
Oh, it's just still up from before.
I'm gonna put it down then. All right. What I was gonna say is though, they updated the Raspberry Pis. You've got it. You've got your SD cards. They now since updated it. It includes in the Scratch a full version of Pac-Man. And we now have the joysticks, and today I've been building it and making it so you could drive the game with a joystick, the old red ball style joystick. And your parents are going to remember this from back in the day. They're really cool. So it's neat. Now they made it much easier to do embedded or physical programming with that. Okay? So I'm very excited about it. I think you guys are going to really enjoy the package, but let me again say, bring a shoebox, something we can stick it in to put your game controller. Okay? If I can find it, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Here it is. They say it's small, but it's actually a pretty big joystick. This is it right here. It's about this size. It's a bigger joystick. They always call it jaw. I think it's funny. You can see it right here, the size of it. It's a big joystick. All right. You can tease your parents. That's what they spent. Many of your fathers spent way too much time in video arcades playing with that. And depending, how many of you all got the flickering light to work? Raise your hands for those folks who did the flickering light when you were on that, if you get a chance. You hear me? If you would. So Ty got his. There's actually some things we can do to extend it to make it look more like lights and get it to work so when it's dark the light comes on. That's actually another lab you can consider doing. Go back to Code Combat. Oops. Oh, let's get back to. So I've been doing these at Code Combat on the brain. All right, let me see another thing. Not me what? Keyshawn, you said not me. I'm trying to figure out what you mean, buddy. Okay, in a few moments, we'll go on to show you some next things here. You've got the PDF so you can get caught up. But in a few moments here, let's go on. Didn't make the light in the lab. Did you not go to lab? Oh, I did, but not finished. Okay. Well, everybody's got to go at their pace. Can everybody give me what level they're on so we get a sense of how far along people are? Write down under your questions what level you're working on right now so I can get a sense where the class is on this. Wow, very nice. What level number is it, Jason? I'd appreciate that, please. All right, wow. I can look it up, but let me see. If you know Jason, I'd appreciate it. Save me from doing that. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and go on here in another about 30-second. Keyshawn, you're just going to have to follow along with folks a little bit because they're cruising through this. We got to go ahead and move on a little bit. All right. Remember, syntax error is letting you know that you haven't typed something right. And those are usually easy to find because that means there's just a comma off, there's a colon off. But give me your attention, please, while you work through this. I'm just going to give you some tips as we go through it, and then I'll let you guys work on it some more. But syntax errors are easy to find. Logic errors are much more challenging. All right, so in this one, for example, in Thornbush Farm, you have find the nearest enemy. If there's an enemy, build a fire trap, and then move. Okay, and that's the top enemy. You can do left enemy, whatever, to find each one of these. And then it finds the left section. So let's go through this. The starter code shows you how to move to the top location of an enemy. If the enemy exists, you build a fire trap. And that's what this is doing here. Build X fire trap. And then it shows you, hey, then the next line sets you to go into the left location where you find your enemy. And then you finish that bad boy off. So there we are. If else statement, it does it if it's true, and if not, it does something else. So you have else if, and then you have elif. So you can start off with find the enemy. If not the enemy, move. Else if there isn't an enemy, if the type's a thrower, you're going to attack it. Else if you're ready to cleave, and you are, and you've got the right distance, you're going to attack it with the cleave, or you're going to use your shield. So it's a series of commodes right after another. All right. If an enemy is present, what should you do? If the enemy is not present, what should you do? That's what you're really finding out. If there is an enemy, either you attack the enemy or you run back. And that's what this is all trying to do. If there's enemy, attack it, else move. So keep looking for the enemy. So if the enemy is present, hero attacks the enemy. If the enemy is not present, it moves back to the center. If there's an enemy, attack an ogre encampment, for example. If there's an enemy, attack it. If there's no enemy, attack the chest. So you're using an if-else statement on it. If the enemy, attack. If enemy, find nearest enemy. If there's an enemy, attack the enemy. Else, attack the chest. And you want to do that because you want to be attacking the chest while the enemy nails you. Go ahead and keep working on those. Bring up one more here. So again, a quick review. You're using an if condition. If this is true, do it. It's what's called also part of what's Boolean logic, which was kind of forgotten until we rediscovered programming. And that is, and in this case, if-else statement. If self is ready, cleave the enemy. Else, attack the enemy. Cleaving is that double sword. Two skills that you're going through there is ready, and that's an action, tells you, hey, is your object ready? And then you have cleave. There's attack, and then there's cleave with this sword. But the cleave, you have to wait till you're ready. It's one of these things you swing it, but you can't just keep swinging it all the time. So self is ready action method. So if self is ready, what we're going to look at? Cleave. Self cleave the enemy. Else self attack the enemy. So this is asking is ready, and you'll have different actions that will fit for this. First one you learn is cleave. And then cleave target. See, when you take cleave a target, self-cleave the target, it takes 1 second, and then cool down 10 seconds before you can do it again. And so that's why you have to have this check to see if it's ready. And you want to use in the Woodland Cleaver, you're using all these skills to really nail something. First thing we check to see if there's an enemy. Then we can see if we're available for cleave is ready. Give them the cooldown. All right. We're going to set up an if-else statement so that something happens if the condition is true, something else happens if the condition is false. What's that condition? Is there, and see, this is how you write pseudocode. Is there an enemy? I write this out. The best programmers I've seen all write. They don't do any code at first. They write down and get the logic in their heads. Then they figure out. If there's an enemy, check to see if you can cleave. If you can cleave, cleave. Otherwise, attack. Repeat. Is there an enemy? Okay. If there's an enemy, check to see if you can cleave. If you can cleave, cleave. Otherwise, attack. And just keep repeating. So, are you self is ready to cleave? Then you can cleave it. Else, attack. This is why we need this self is ready. We check the word cleave. And then you're putting this whole thing in a loop. You know, you've got yourself moving, and there's a loop, and you're just going to go over and over again. Is there, you know, is it ready to cleave? Attack, cleave the enemy. Else, attack the enemy. Yes, I can. Give me a second. I'll download that for you. I'm just crunching it here. we kind of split up 3 and 4, so you've got them both now. Take 3 and 4, and you'll go whichever way you need, depending where you are. Remember, don't forget to use the shield method. Shield method blocks 38% of the damage if ln self find friends is greater than 5 feet, shield, else attack the enemy. Now let's go through what that really means. Shield instead of attack. So what you're really going to do is instead of, so don't worry about, we'll go into a little more depth what that method exactly says, but basically you're saying cleave the enemy, if not shield, so you protect yourself. If you get this message, self-cleave enemy, that means the enemy's not defined. So you make sure you say, hey, have you found the nearest enemy? So you make sure you have find nearest enemy. And this is one of the reasons we have to use this loop. So if you're doing this if statement, you can keep doing it. You want it to find the nearest enemy before it tries to attack. Because you're going to get an error message. If you don't find an enemy, that's null. When it does, self-cleave null, it's going to complain. You can also do dueling grounds with each other. That's kind of cool. Play other people do it there. Just as we had find nearest enemy, there's find nearest item, and it does just that, helps you find that item, and then it gets distance to target. That's when you upgrade your glasses. So there's this. All right, so in this case, find the nearest enemy, then find the distance to the enemy. That's what self-distance to enemy could be anything, but that's what we have. If distance is less than 10, attack it. Else, stay close to the peasants. And that's what that one's doing. And what you can start doing is nest these if statements. So if enemy, so in other words, you found an enemy. If the distance is less than 5, cleave. Else, attack the enemy. Remember, we're starting to find these things. Distance to the enemy, find nearest enemy, and find nearest target. And you always want a loop to get that error. So this is the kind of if-then nested loops. Notice there's spacing in Python. We keep getting farther and farther over. And again, we get one of these deals where you check, and if you want to attack the enemy, if you're not being attacked, go ahead and tear up the chest. And that's what's happening in this one. If enemy, self-distance enemy. If that's less than 10, attack. Now I'm going pretty quick pace because a bunch of you are way ahead, but there's where it is. And then you can start putting flags down, but I'm going to hold off on that right now. So for the next few minutes, go ahead, let's make sure you're doing that. Okay? I did give you the BDF there for your ohm. We got that. So that'll let you take up to the next levels on this. Any of you folks Iowa college football fans? I believe you guys got a pretty good team this year. Okay. Any other questions right now, folks? Okay, folks. It's about 8:50 now. I don't think we're going to cover any more new stuff. So you can, if you've got homework to do, you can go ahead and do that. In terms of, this is about as far as we're going to probably get for programming tonight. Can you have lab next Tuesday? Monday we're going to talk about it. And start looking around for a box that you can put your game controller on. You're going to see it. We'll show you what it looks like, and you can start thinking about it down the road. But see if you've got a shoebox or something that might work. All right? And I will just hang here, but I'm going to be muted. I'm going to stop recording the webinar, but I will be on in case you want to post a question. All right, folks? All right, then.